is I Ching, Trigrams, and Human Design. So now we're going to be diving into the energetic background, the meaning, the understanding of, lake, mountain, earth, heaven. When you see those trigrams stacked on top of each other to create the hexagrams in a human design, then here's another way we could look at it. So I'm pretty stoked.
Yeah, and it adds in. So just so you can see that it all ties back to very ancient wisdoms, plural.
These are some really old concepts that we get to touch upon. They're looking at something that speaks to a program, to an absolute truth that is the foundation of the world we inhabit. So they were really onto something.
I quite agree. My favorite statement. They were on to something.
Absolutely. So thank you again to all of our viewers who are watching and liking and subscribing. It helps us a lot. And let's get into it. So Fuxi is a mythological figure depicted as a cultural hero in ancient China. He lived around 2800 BC, but that date is more symbolic than historical. And he is credited with the invention of the 8 trigrams and the Bagua, which is the arrangement of the trigrams into usually a circle shape. And we'll get to that later on in the episode. And he was inspired by observation of the natural world and distilled fundamental principles of reality into a binary system of broken yin or solid yang lines arranged into the 8 trigrams, representing the basic forces of nature and the universe. And this is a shift from chaotic myth to systemic thought, marking an early attempt to codify the world's patterns.
Yeah, and that codification, humanity has been about it the whole time. Think about what the awareness mind on the scene at the time was all about, measuring. This is all straight. So we're measuring fools back then, we're the same now, right? What's changed? Not much.
And then the I Ching, it's also known as the Book of Changes. And then in the Chinese, it would be Yi Jing. So Yi means change and Jing is book. So there you have the Book of Changes. And the 8 trigrams expanded into 64 hexagrams, and text was added for these changing lines. And this is attributed to King Wen around 1100 BC. And later Confucius, who lived around 500 BC, added philosophical commentaries. This is recognized as a single conception created as an interconnected whole, revealing the underlying patterns and dynamics of life's changes.
Yeah, this Book of Changes, as I'm always describing it, one of the cool things you can do is just go to the I Ching itself, the Chinese I Ching, the block of squares, I always call it, right? And if you just squint your eyes a little bit, you can see the lines are always changing. No wonder they wanted to make sense of it. Right, because they're always changing. If you squint your eyes just a little bit, they never change necessarily the same way a second time either, because the changing lines. And what was the subtitle of that book? It was The Ways of Modern Man, the Book of Changes, The Ways of Modern Man. So even back then, they were like, hey, we're the newer version. They knew they were a version. It's just, I find that incredibly aware.
Mm-hmm. But everything is always changing. It's never static. It's never just the same thing over and over again. Every second is different from the last. Every breath is different from the last. You're a completely different person at every moment.
When a person asks, but they repeat. So what do you say to that? Because they will repeat.
Well, there's patterns. There's obviously patterns, like the seasons. You're always going to go from winter to spring to summer to fall to winter to spring to summer to fall, but you're never going to have 2 winters that are exactly the same. You're never going to have 2 springs that are exactly the same. So there's patterns within. It's the yin yang. It's the exact same thing. It's the pattern and the pattern disruption. It's the order and then the creation and the change, and it's that perfect balance between the two.
Exactly, and like Rob would always say, it wouldn't matter if they were identically the same. Even like 2 charts, absolutely identical down to the base. It could happen, but
well, it's like a fingerprint. They all kind of look the same until you look closer. It's like a snowflake. They all look exactly the same until you get really, really close, and each one is somehow exactly different, even if it is exactly the same. And a snowflake is composed of the same exact, molecules as the snowflake next to it, yet it's a completely different expression.
Totally different sets of characteristics entirely. And the thing I was going to say about Ra, what he always pointed out was, even if it did duplicate itself exactly, it still isn't duplicated because it's at a different time. So the time that thing arrived and was a thing is deeply consequential spiritually speaking, literally speaking, scientifically speaking. Yeah.
So here we have our Earth trigram, which is the receptive, and it's open to receive and support. Earth makes inspiration manifest, gives it form, and sustains growth, and it's available to be used, ready to lend strength to work without limit, and it protects and accepts all things in totality, and it's present and potential in an unconditional embrace. And so it's referred to as kun in the Chinese, and it's represented as the mother. So the trigrams, these 8 trigrams, all have like a family relationship. And so the full yin, 3 yin lines stacked on top of each other are referred to as the mother.
Mother is the open and the receptive. That's what's important to notice. To me, what's important to notice about a triple yin trigram. It's open, and it's fully receptive to that which will pass through.
Absolutely. And even just like Mother Earth, like that we refer to it as, Mother Earth, Father Sky, that's the same exact kind of aspect. What's also interesting is that when Earth is the foundation within the human design calendar, it's in the next couple of weeks. So it's very much springtime. It's as you start planting seeds and start getting your gardens ready, that's when Earth is the foundational trigram of the body graph.
It's so funny. And then the next quarter that comes is all yin, civilization. Although you could argue it yang, but it's substance, it's earth, it's made of earth.
And gate 2 is the beginning of the quarter of civilization, which is 6 yin lines. It's all feminine, it's earth over earth.
Yeah.
Next up, we have mountain, which is keeping still. And this is the limit where you must stop. And it marks the ending of cycles. And mountain, it defines a space to recognize, assimilate, and complete experience, creating personal stillness amid change. And it's a retreat for perspective and firm foundation for new growth. Mountain is well-grounded, confident, an independent spirit. It's still and a knowing. In the Chinese, it's Zhen. And it is referred to as the youngest son within the trigram family. And so this is pretty cool because this is actually a really great way to memorize the 8 trigrams in a simple way, is through this family metaphor. And so this is referred to as the youngest son because when we're looking at our trigrams, you're looking for the one outlier. So you have the 2 yin and then the yang. So the yang is the outlier. So it's going to be marked as like masculine. So it's one of the sons. And because it's that 3rd line, it's the youngest, it's the newest. Remember, we build up our trigrams from the bottom up. So because the outlier is the yang masculine, it's a son. And because it's the 3rd, it is the youngest son. And then with my little like mnemonic that I think of like the youngest brother who's like tired and sick of his older brothers bothering him and being noisy. And he's going to like go run off to go be still in the mountain and have his own little chill time.
And he definitely wants his mommy.
And that it's like the closest, that mountain follows earth, that he's like right there next to the mother of earth. So mountain is all about stillness. Next up, we have water, which is the abysmal, and abysmal as in abyss, not as in like bad. Think of like the old understanding of the abyss and the depth. So water, it's about deep water. It's flowing and formless. And water is unconscious to fire's sharp lucidity. It's fluid, it's intuitive, and it's an emotional way of perceiving. And it also can represent danger, exposure, and solitude. And so water needs to respond with courageous self-reliance when confronted with the haunting unknown. And in Chinese, it's kan, and it is represented in the trigram family as the middle sun. Because again, within the 3 lines, you're looking for the one outlier. So it's one yang line. So it's a sun, it's the masculine, and it's in between. It's in the middle of the 2 feminine lines. So it's the middle sun. And within my analogy and little mnemonic memory device, I think of like a boy that has like an older sister and a younger sister, and he's just surrounded by girls, and he's just surrounded by this abyss and this feminine energy.
Yeah, and this abysmal has everything to do with the capacity to sustain and persevere. Think of the guy on the chain gang, or it's your job to pound rocks all day. It seems abysmal, but to do that job, you're at it still day in and day out. And it's not supposed to be seen in a negative light. abysmal is just a depth that perseveres. I look at abysmal like perseverance. The middle son, and middle son must persevere, or he'll never get heard. The baby will get all the attention, and the elder will get all
The praise.
trouble or not, praise or trouble,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And the middle one is like, just do as you're told. I was a middle child.
Of course you were.
That's so funny.
So yeah, so water, the abysmal, and it's the middle sun. Next up, we have wind, which is the gentle. Wind is whatever penetrates, spreads, and grows, because wind is shaping itself to the space available, and it's shaping space to its own nature. It's responsive flexibility, sensitively improvising and adapting, and wind creates no resistance, and it has a subtle yet far-reaching influence. So in Chinese, it's Zun, and it's the eldest daughter in the trigram family, because the one outlier, you have the two yang, you have the one yin line, and the yin line is at the bottom. It's the first line. So it's the oldest since they go from the bottom up.
Outlier being the yin here, it's foundational.
For my analogy, to think of the eldest daughter and wind, then I was thinking of like if you see like an old Victorian era movie and it's the oldest daughter who's the most demure and she has like her fan and she's going out to the opera, and that sense of wind that is shaping itself. It's very influential, but it's very subtle, right? It's not the going out and fighting and causing a ruckus. The wind is gentle. It's adapting to the space, and it has a great influence, even if it just looks like a feminine girl being all demure off into the corner. She can actually be very influential in a way.
Very influential and penetratingly aware. There's intuition here. There's deep intuition in this trigram.
Makes sense. Up we have thunder, the arousing. So thunder is shock, upheaval, and the spark of the new. And thunder is the basic drive for renewal that inspires initiative and decisive action. And it's the stimulus setting things in motion. In Chinese, it's Zhen. And in the trigram family, it is the eldest son, because the outlier of the three lines is yang. So it's masculine, it's going to be a son. And the oldest line, the first line, is the yang. So that's why it's the oldest son. And I just think of, the oldest brother, the oldest son who's like lighting off fireworks on the 4th of July.
Yeah, and getting his younger brother to go along and get in trouble or not.
And the youngest one is going to go run off to be still in the mountain.
I love thunder, just generally speaking, because it speaks to the need to awaken the spirit of the self. The thunder first awakens the spirit of the self. That's and that's the movement in the body graph. We've been tic-tac-toeing through various gates, by the way, just through the names I'm noticing, and that's the job of this thing. And that would be a job left to the eldest son in the father's absence, and it would be a job communioned on and cooperated with by the eldest son and the father when needed, especially if they actually do need their thunder. You know what I mean? The thunder arrives. So
yeah, and if you do think of it within the body graph, like thunder, when it's thunder over and under, when it's thunder on top and bottom, then that's gate 51, which is shock. That's pure shock. And then what Danny was referring to is that gate 51 links up with 25, which is that spirit of the self.
This innocence of the self, the spirit of the self is rooted in our innocence. As soon as you don't know what's going on, you're in the spirit of yourself. You're just innocent. As soon as you've had to figure it all out, you're now something else.
You're stressed out.
Yeah, you're stressed out. Usually, yeah. Something of that nature. Yeah.
Yeah, as a 2551 is my only channel, and 25 is my conscious son in a sense. Is when I have to not be innocent and I have to figure things out, I get myself into trouble and chaos.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so that's thunder, the arousing. It is that shock and spark of the new. Next up, we have fire, which is the clinging. And fire is inner and outer light. As inner light, fire is consciousness at its most lucid and unclouded. And as outer light, fire is the light that makes things visible. Fire is the power to cast light, spread clarity, and awareness of order. In the Chinese, it's Li. And in our trigram family, fire is the middle daughter, right? The two lines are yang, the one feminine line means it's a daughter, it's going to be feminine, and it is in the middle of the three lines. So that's why it's the middle daughter. And for my little analogy and memory trick is the middle daughter who's like up in her room lighting candles and incense.
That's so cute. It seems to go perfectly with what we just had before. Thunder and lightning will make fire ultimately, sooner or later. But this fire and this whole clinging to, I like the way that if you take, I'm thinking gate 31 here.
Yeah.
I don't know if this trigram is part of gate 31.
Yeah, because it's the clinging fire.
This is a big direction driver. It refines what's going to move us in a direction towards the completion of the experience. And since we're designed to commune and find love, the experience is going to be imbued with both of those things. Fire lights the way to the communing imbued with communion and love. That's a Hallmark card of some sort. Never mind Hallmark, they're lame, that's something else, but
the concept of it, you'd make a very delightful poetic greeting card. So fire, it's the clinging, and I even think of like the way fire would cling to, you know, a log, or fire clings to a wick, and it's burning things away. It's having that consciousness that it's most lucid and unclouded, right? Or you know, I dance with fire, I perform with fire, and like you're definitely super lucid and unclouded when you are spinning fireballs around your head and dancing. Like it is gonna make you very aware. And especially think of like when you're camping or the electricity goes out, like the sun goes away and it is incredibly dark. Like we forget about it. Like electricity is so easy for us, but that outer light of fire, which is the light that's making things visible that otherwise would be shrouded in shadows and darkness and danger. So it casts that light, it spreads the clarity and that awareness of order.
the feeling that you just must experience both an inner light and an outer light. It lights the way for others and it fires up the way within. I like it.
Next up, we have lake, which is the joyous. And lake is abundant energy teeming with life. Lake is the impulse to communicate, share, and exchange. It's sheer excitement and fully participating in life, expressing in self, hearing others, and satisfying desires. And in Chinese, it'd be dui. And in our analogy for the trigram family, lake is the youngest daughter. So there's two yang lines and then the one yin. So because the one outlier is yin, it is a daughter, it is feminine. And because it's that third line, it's the youngest in the development of the trigram. It's the youngest daughter. And I just imagine like a little girl playing by a lake and like looking at the fishies, and it's just so abundant, that teeming with life. It's the abundance, right? And that's the difference too, because I would see lake and water as the trigrams. And it's like, I don't understand, what is the difference between these? How are these, what are they, you know, they're obviously referring to something different. Whereas water is the abyss, it's the depth of being like lost in the ocean almost. Whereas, you know, you go to a lake and, you know, it's not as big and scary. It's a bit safer, it's a bit more fun, and it's more playful, and it's the abundance of life.
Yeah, I like this abundance, this impulse to communicate, share, and exchange. That is the joyous. And this is dying to basically go up a whole process of identification. So this is in the youngest daughters where we ultimately identify with certain things. Certain things will be ordained to identify with or not here, is sort of how I'm reading this. And the joyous is just loves to start. This is 1, 2, 3 start territory. That's what this trigram says. 1, 2, 3, go. With me too, right? Together.
Yeah, it's like a little girl that wants to like take your hand to like show you flowers and like, you know, look at fish. Like
now. The point being in the now. It's like right now, and it's important to her.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love the imagery of this with like the koi fish and like the lotus and stuff. That was really fun.
Yeah, I like it.
Finally, we have heaven, which is the creative. So heaven is suprahuman. It's beyond the human, and it's cosmic law. Heaven is creativity in pure form, determining nature and the development of all. It's the movement of stars, the cycle of seasons. It's what causes seeds to grow into plants. It's the force that drives change and what endures from within. So in Chinese, it's Qian. In our trigram family analogy, heaven is represented as father, 3 yang lines.
And this is all just the expression of pure energy, right back to where we started on the first portion of this show. The battery, the electrons are all moving, they're on fire, and they're pushing what ends up becoming a current that then makes the light up, or the motor run, or the electric bike go, all of it. And that is a pure energetic state. So, Father, Son, Heaven, God, they all seem to be synonymous here. Although plenty of times Father isn't very heavenly or godly or sunshine-like, you know what I mean?
I mean, we're talking about archetypes. We're talking about like
I
archetypes and
know.
symbols,
I
you
know.
know, like this is just to give like a foundational understanding of, again, these deeper things within our programming. So heaven is represented as the sun, that pure electric force. That's that which is, you know, causing the movement of the stars, the cycles of the season. It's what causes seeds to grow into plants. It is that pure electric energy, right? It's that pure radiation from the sun, which is so powerful. It's like when you really realize how powerful the sun is, like that is, you know, this trigram of heaven, this pure yang energy.
It's so powerful that it caused the whole planet to turn green, and inside that greenery to grow up all kinds of life forms that accept its rays and turn it into something material.
Mm-hmm.
So pure energy turns into material once grounded. Go figure. That's a big tall statement. Because the light, catch the light, Moni. The light that's coming, turn it. You can't, right? You
Yeah.
and I can't catch it and turn it into something. But
The earth can.
the Earth can, and Sun basically drove that power into the Earth. But the Earth always had it, I would guess, because they are yin and yang, cosmically speaking. But one drove into the other. Like one was the spark that woke up the other. Actually, this is just like the sperm. We're describing the
Sperm and
sperm.
the egg.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's so funny.
Yeah. It's the
Yep.
same exact thing of the pure electricity of the sun and the pure magnetism of the earth. You know, it's the pure electricity of the sperm and the pure magnetism of the egg. It's the same patterns that life is just built upon. It's the same absolute truths, the same program and pattern. So that's what we're talking about here. So like that's what's really cool about these 8 trigrams and this understanding of energetics is it is speaking about something deeper, and it's really fun to get to explore. Of like, you know, this isn't nothing. Like everything has become like relative. Everything is relative, and you could do this and you do you and blah blah blah, and like no one wants to like have any strong opinions, and everything has become very like floaty, and I feel like we've become very ungrounded in a way, you know, just like really like you see it in society. Everyone seems kind of just ungrounded into something, and I think a lot of us are lost. And I know part of, you know, what I love about human design is that it speaks about something real. You can't see it, but you can see it. Right? You can't see energetics, but man, you can sure witness and perceive them. And you can play with human design. You can play with this experiment, and you can, you know, just trip over the absolute truths of how your energy works, or how somebody else is engaging in the world, or why did that thing get weird. And so the fact that human design is built on these building blocks of the I Ching, again, it's just what we can speak to as these absolute truths in our programming that stack together. And I just think that's really cool and beautiful.
Cosmic law. I love it.
Absolutely. Just to round it out, there's what's called a bagua. So the bagua is like an arrangement of the 8 trigrams. And so there's 2 of them that we're going to talk about. There's the Fuxi Bagua. So Fuxi being that mythological cultural hero of ancient China who came up with the trigrams. So the Fuxi Bagua is referred to as the earlier heaven, and it reflects a primordial ideal of the universe, cycles of nature, and the balance of yin and yang, and the directions align with static eternal framework. So if you look here, the easiest one to look at is like Earth is at the bottom, heaven is at the top, which, you know, makes obvious, you know, logical sense. And the Earth is that pure yin, the heaven is pure yang, and they're exactly matching each other on the opposite side. And you can actually look at that in all the directions, right? If you look at fire on the right, it's yang, yin, yang, whereas water on the right side is yin, yang, yin. And you can do that on all of these directions to see that it's this, this static external framework of what we're talking about. So this arrangement of the trigrams is just that perfect balance of itself.
And part of the beauty of the symmetry along with our genetics is like the picture before where we finally got to the TCGA and you saw how they lined up, right? Mm-hmm. And it looked like a zipper zippering up. The way these things mirror with each other, right? Fire and water are exact, like you were saying, exact mirrors to one another. This is just describing that zipper process. Literally, one brings the other. I like that fire and water bring each other. It makes a nice warm bath. It's comfortable.
It's really cute.
Right? We were born from warm bath-like fluid. It's perfect.
Absolutely. So, and this is the same Bagua base that human design uses, which is why I wanted to bring it up. So human design is using that earlier heaven, that Fuxi Bagua. So I love this version of the body graph, by the way. It's absolutely one of my favorites because you can just go from the center and build it out from the like source to yin yang to the 2 to 3 out to the 6 lines. But I highlighted what we're looking at here, which is those 8 trigrams. So if you look, it's a little shifted clockwise. But if you just kind of tilt your head a little bit, you can see like Earth is at the bottom, heaven is at the top, and all the rest match up with that Fuxi Bagua that we were looking at on the previous page. And so it's arranged in this like perfect way to go around the year.
I get in trouble when I look at the wheel itself. I've already fallen off of the exact subject that you're talking about for a quick second. I right-minded it out accidentally, just generally speaking. Each one of these four bangers that shows up the hexagram that's right above it, these again just make further building blocks that were measured a long time ago. We measured this stuff. It's in textbooks now. It's so funny. I would love to go to a college campus genetics class and be like, "Oh, you guys are studying the I Ching, huh?" And give them a little bit of, right? And they'd be like, "Oh, what? I don't think they tell our students this stuff. They should.
I don't think most people, even who would know about genetics or science or anything, like I don't think most of them would be looking at the I Ching. Like
I would agree.
I would have no perception that this means anything if it wasn't for human design. And honestly, finding like this version of the body graph online, and I was like, what is this? What does this mean? And it was my desire to understand what this means, which is why I created this whole series. So yeah. I think it's so neat. So yeah, human design uses this earlier heaven, this Fuxi Bagua, as a map of cosmic harmony, reflecting a perfect, unchanging balance of opposites. Like everything is like perfectly balanced and arranged. And I feel like this version of the body graph is just such a delight for anyone with like a logical pattern mind. It's just so never-endingly beautiful.
The patterns never stop. That much I do know. They just literally, they never stop. And with plenty of duplications, they still never stop. It's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. Finally, there's also this alternate version of the Bagua. So this is the King Wen Bagua, or it's referred to as the later heaven Bagua. And so this is not human design, but I just wanted to talk about it so you have a sense that this exists. So if you look it up, you're like, why is this one different than the other one? So this King Wen Bagua represents a dynamic temporal order adjusted to human experience. So if you look at this one, whereas the previous, that Fuxi earlier heaven Bagua had, heaven on top, earth on the bottom, with this one, it's water is at the bottom and then fire is at the top. And all the other ones are differently arranged. And so water and fire are the only ones that actually match each other, where water is yin, yang, yin, and fire is yang, yin, yang. That's the only ones, if you look 180 degrees across, that's the only one that actually matches up. So I think with this one, they rearranged the trigrams to align with the like the cardinal directions, like north, south, east, and west. So that's why that's like how they arranged this Bagua. So this arrangement of the trigrams, mostly if you're going to see it, it's used with like Feng Shui. Mm-hmm. So if you look up like a Feng Shui Bagua, it's usually this King Wen, this later heaven Bagua. And so Feng Shui uses it as a way to map the flow of energy, qi in a space, aligning with directional trigrams to harmonize life with natural cycles. So at this, you can like have this diagram and how you set up your house or a room with what you put in which places to align with the energy of each of those trigrams to create harmony in your life is the concept of it.
Yeah, and Feng Shui has been around a long time. I like the fact that it reorients back to straight up north-south and then changes the order of the trigrams. So basically, I'm sure they were onto something. And I know we did Feng Shui and Feng Shui in this house that I'm in way back when. I remember I liked it. It was cool. I'm a dude, so I sort of lost track of all that, but it's not my fault. That's funny, but it just shows to how we're always mixing. Just like the nodes go one way and the wheel goes and we go the other, and that creates a mixing. The genetic pond is constantly in a mixing each other, constant mixing, galaxies and so forth running into each other. So this just shows another way to mix things up. You're reading this way into a space, and that actually causes a mixing for what we are. Right? It's not identical, which is what human design, the whole reason it was started to even be able to be read in the first place is because it got noticed. One of the things that showed up first was it's not identical. It's not fully symmetrical, right? There's 7 right angles, 1 jocks, 4 left. Nothing is quite, certain things, symmetricalness is not throughout HD at all. So I found that interesting.
Absolutely. It's super fascinating.
Can you imagine what Ra went through for those 8 days? Some of this talk we just had was part of what he was going through. I don't know what parts, but some of it was. Now that all of this is coming out, he got taught a lot of this stuff in those 8 days. Wonder if he was pissed at first. He's like, "What are you doing teaching me this stuff? Get to the juicy stuff." I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, just so connected with some force outside of himself that was imparting this wisdom to download into him to understand the entire like building blocks of the universe is pretty wild and insane, but also really brilliant. And what was it after Ra had his experience with the voice, those 8 days, then afterwards he was like so sad and depressed because he was just so connected to the universe, to the divine, and then it was just gone. You're like, well, what now? It's almost like when you read like an amazing book that changes your life and then you close the last page and your whole world has shifted and you look around and no one else has experienced that. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess
You're
this
not in the middle of the
me.
experience of the clinging fire of the feeling of the book itself.
Yeah, it's a great way to like practice your understanding of human design and putting these different things together, because that's so much of what it is like we're looking at these different energetics that have these archetypal meanings and we're layering them over one another to understand the patterns, and then in understanding the patterns and using the keynotes we could put them together to come up with a story to then actually have an effect, right? We're story-based creatures. Like the whole, abstract circuitry is all about the story, and like you have a good story, and if you can make something into an interesting story, someone can frame their beliefs around it and their life around it. So if you have these keynotes tied together, they can create the story of who you are, and you can have a sense of what that is in truth and aim towards yourself in truth.
Absolutely. And now you know why, at least part of why, we can look at a 2-dimensional piece of paper and tell you things that we should have no idea of. We should not be able to know. And it's consistent over and over. It keeps repeating itself. I've yet to see it fail. By the way, I've yet to see it actually be not so.
Yeah, when you're reading someone's chart and because it's again, we're looking at patterns. You can look at a stranger's chart and tell them all about themselves, and it's like you're not a wizard and you're not a psychic. It's just a matter of pattern recognition and being able to express that to somebody where it's just things about themselves that they know, but they've never
They
had to
know.
put it in context. It's like these
They
things they
know,
know about
Moni.
themselves
They
about it,
know.
but it's they don't have a context, and that's what
Right.
human design provides. Human design provides this foundational context so you can actually do something with all these weird things. Yeah, you know 20 different things about yourself, but you don't know how they're in relationship with one another and which things are you and which things are the not you. So human design and a good analyst who can put those keynotes together can really give you a sense of context of who you are. And again, what you're looking at is what you're going to aim towards. It's like if you're driving and you take your eyes off the road, you're going to start drifting at whatever your
Yep.
eyes are looking at.
Yep.
So be careful with what you're looking at and what you're aiming for, because you can get into some weird places.
Weird
And
places. Yeah, no, it's totally true. What was it? A mechanic. That's what it is. I like being a mechanic. It's a
mhm.
mystical mechanic, you know. There's mystical mechanisms moving on here, set in place billions of years ago. We have no idea. We can't prove any of it. Yet here we are, the living proof of all of it.
Mhm.
There's a Confucius say, that which you cannot prove, and there can be no proof, yet your life is proof of all of it. What is it? You know, I feel like a riddle now suddenly.
Yeah, you're a very good fortune cookie.
Yep, yep. Dan the fortune cookie, gotta love it. But no, that seems good. I think we made a good run of all this, Moni. This was great.
Yeah, that was a really fun deep dive into the I Ching. Thank you to our viewers and our commenters and for engaging and enjoying this deep dive with us, because it's really fun and it's more fun with you guys. We'll catch you next time.
Awesome. Goodbye, everyone. Much love indeed.